Welcome to Duda, the leading solution for SaaS platforms that are looking to add websites to their services. Let's say you're a music industry SaaS provider. Your solution stores customer data, and you'd like to leverage that information to offer websites that are automatically connected to it. You can do that easily with Duda. Our API is flexible, well-documented, and designed with application integration in mind. You can use Duda's widget builder to integrate your solution once and then add it to all your customized templates, automatically including your service in every new website built. All websites can be dynamically connected to your system so that when information is added or changed in your product, the websites are updated automatically. Let your customers edit their websites in a custom branded experience. And with Duda's roles and permissions, you can choose what they have access to and what they don't. And of course, all Duda websites are fully responsive and can send end-user activity back to your platform along with conversion-driving analytics. And we're just getting started. Talk to an expert from our partner team to learn all the ways Duda can fit in with your business today.
We're excited to have Colin Timmis with us today. Colin is the country manager in South Africa for Xero, one of the world's largest cloud accounting platforms. He and Charles will discuss how software as a service technology is playing a transformational role for small businesses.
Thank you, Lyndon, and Colin, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much.
We
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you at our first virtual summit. We actually had a live summit, as you may or may not know, last year in Cape Town. And we hope to have live summits again, but we're very excited to be doing this virtual event, and it's actually a lot of fun to do. And so again, thanks for joining. Your role as the country manager for Xero in South Africa gives you a lot of perspectives on small business, and particularly small business adoption of technology to run their businesses more efficiently, profitably, and so on. And you've recently done some research on this that we'll, I'm sure, get into in the course of our Q&A here. I wanted to start just with sort of a basic premise that I talked to a lot of folks about, which is this notion of COVID being an accelerator for technology adoption. And have you seen this in your data? Is this what you've noticed in the market? Can you talk about what you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a very difficult and challenging time for everyone, especially for small businesses. The average small business is, trying to support their community, feed their family, support their staff, and to do so when you don't have access to markets and information and data becomes very, very challenging when you're isolated in your home, for example. And so absolutely, we've all got a little bit of Zoom fatigue at the moment. Connecting online and living in this virtual world can be very challenging, and it's hugely impactful for small businesses. But we have seen a lot of small businesses adapt really quickly and really well. As well as a lot of the accountants who we work with who support these small businesses, whereas they may have, this time last year been a little bit reluctant to jump onto a video call or understand how a lot of these platforms work. They've had to innovate and they've had to use these technologies and move onto a really, really steep learning curve to connect with their customers. And it's not just about talking to customers and talking to people and talking to clients online, but it's actually about having access to data, having access to information, because a lot of what small businesses do and what accountants do is about processing information, understanding, what's available, what's not available, having to report on it, get those insights, and then grow their business. So the only way to do that has been virtual. The only way to do that has been to adopt technology for the transfer of information and to look to ways to, in some extreme cases, diversify revenue streams and look for other opportunities. And that, to a certain extent, means that some are doing more e-commerce businesses and moving online and selling online, where applicable for some small businesses. But for the vast majority, it's just been about, I think, streamlining a lot of their existing processes and looking at ways to make better use of their time on things like understanding their customers, delivering the best possible products and services, and looking for new opportunities.
Okay. So there are a few things I noticed from the data that I thought were interesting, and they may or may not sort of touch on the current environment, or they may be more longer term issues. One of which is this notion that small businesses are bringing technology on board, but there's a gap in terms of their internal skill set to make the best use of the technology. What talk about that a little bit and sort of what that means in terms, and is that going to lead to a slowdown in technology adoption? How do you address that issue? Is it a systemic educational issue, or is it more less intimidating than that?
Yeah, I think too many business owners have got a very antiquated view of what is required to adopt technology. So they have this view that technology is by its nature complicated and like exclusionary. When in reality, if we have a look at how we all use technology every day through our cell phones and our mobile devices, children as they are young as 3 or 4, are quite quickly without any educational training, because of the way technology is designed, its intuitive nature, people can adopt technology quite easily. So I don't think that it's that technology is complicated. I think it's that our perception of what technology is and how it should be used, there's this breakdown of the difference between useful personal use and useful business use. That somehow personal use is easy, Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, and that some of these things are easy to do. But when it comes to my business, it needs to be complicated. And I need a consultant and I need an expert, which is not true. Most of the best modern technologies are intuitive and are designed with the user in mind. And that's particularly true of technology that we build. Accounting software, which is probably a perfect example where the perception might be, the words accounting and software do not go together. And if they do, it's going to be complicated. Exactly. And that's absolutely not the case. We now have cases where, people are talking about how they love accounting software and how they love business platforms and how it enables and grows their companies. And I think it's really probably a little bit of education, but education not on actual products and infrastructure, but more education that, hey, it's actually not so complicated. Open yourself up to the possibility, recognize what you're using currently, and you'll actually find that it's going to benefit you hugely with not too much of an investment.
Now, I'm wondering if this is reflecting something, the development of SaaS over the past decade or whatever point you begin it at is one of the things that it's done is it's created sort of this, taken enterprise software and democratized it and brought it down to into apps that small businesses can access on their phones and are fairly intuitive, as you said. Do you think that it's a sort of a part of the is not understanding that has taken place, and that
exactly exactly, and basic technology structure that enables people to pay a monthly subscription for a product, and if they don't like it, they can turn it off. Whereas traditionally, I think people think there has to be a huge capital investment, there have to be contracts that are signed, and I need an expert to upgrade my infrastructure and to do all the training and education. Whereas you don't do that when you download an app on your phone. An expert doesn't come in and say, this is how you use the app. And that's what all good technology does now, whether it's accounting software, e-commerce technology, blog writing tools. It's intuitive and it's easy to use, and if it's not, it doesn't grow and become popular.
Right. You have to scale customers acquisition rapidly in this business, and that doesn't happen if the tools aren't sort of viral in a sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm curious about the sort of app ecosystem. How does Xero work with like other applications? I mean, through a marketplace. And talk about that. And I'm also curious about how you support or encourage sort of the startup or developer ecosystem to create new applications.
So one of the, back to the earlier points around education of what technology infrastructure in 2020, 2021 looks like. One of the foundations of good, SaaS technology, software as a service, for those that aren't familiar with the acronym, is APIs, programming, interfaces, connections, endpoints that enable multiple pieces of software to be connected together. So in the same way that you would download an app onto your phone, that app is now on your device and is using some elements of your device to represent information and data. So too are various pieces of software and product able to connect to one another through APIs. And at Xero, we have an open API that's free to use. You can go to Xero.com, look at the developer homepage, and you can freely access that API like thousands and thousands of companies do around the world. And you can actually extract data out of a Xero product, and you can push data into a Xero product. And what we then love to do is talk to developers and talk to various apps to integrate with our platform and to become approved in our app marketplace, because what that enables them to do is to market themselves to all the Xero customers around the globe. And this is a very important point, and speaks to the importance of having a mature API and marketplace, in that Xero, for example, is one product all around the globe. And so if you develop using our APIs, you don't have to develop again in another region. You're essentially accessing the same database, and you can sell your product in South Africa or in the UK, or potentially in the US, because the maturity of the product is built on a single platform with a single source of truth, and that enables you to scale and just grow. And so we're really, really focused, especially in South Africa, on really building out this developer community and approaching local companies and apps and saying, like, there's a massive opportunity to connect with all of the small businesses that we serve, but also with all of the accountants we serve in South Africa, and then to go internationally and to sell your products there, as we've already seen with one of our app partners. I think they were an app partner of the year, actually, a company called Sift Analytics, SYFT, and they're a great reporting tool, and they have customers, in Australia, in the UK, and that's all enabled by software. It's all enabled by modern technology, where you can just, freely go and grab an API, share data, build products, and create this beautiful ecosystem where businesses can scale, and they have options and they have choices. And I think that's one of the big differentiators that these APIs create is choice. Yeah. Traditionally, you choose a piece of software and you buy the inventory module or the POS module, and that is the module. You have one choice. That's their inventory add-on. Whereas in the modern world, like in the Xero marketplace, a small business can choose from 10 different inventory add-ons, 15 different POS add-ons, and it's about what suits your company best. And again, it's trial and buy. So use it, test it. If you don't like it, turn it off. If you do, carry on paying for it. So it's really not a complicated environment.
So back to a reference to the pandemic, have you seen a shift in the kinds of applications that are being built as a result, or is it too soon to tell?
I think it's probably too soon to tell, but there's definitely a lot of conversations that we're having with companies that are more interested in what is currently available and what should be available. So companies are realizing that they're not operating as efficiently as what they probably could. There's a lot of duplication. There's a lot of inefficiencies and time that is wasted. That is not just about, pure efficiencies within the business and operational sort of structure, but it's about what else could they be using their time for? Where else could they be servicing customers better or looking for new markets? And how could technology or some sort of integration or app help with that process and that scale? And we, for example, at Xero have an app integrator directory where small businesses can go and find app partners who will actually help them recommend and implement some of these apps. And we have seen a huge increase in the number of applications to those integrators, which I think speaks to this initial wave that I think we'll probably see next year after the holidays, where many will come back from leave and realize, we can't operate the way we were. We need to maybe reinvent some of the ways we've been dealing with our data.
Right. And are you seeing, again, but are you seeing new companies come on board to build software in this environment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my LinkedIn profile is inundated with companies over the last 3 months, just requesting information on development and wanting to partner and wanting to get into the ecosystem and into the space. And I mean, I personally would say, I don't think it's completely anecdotal, but over the last sort of 3 months, the number of requests that I've seen from companies wanting to integrate and wanting to build some sort of or make a contribution to the ecosystem is definitely far greater than what it was, I would say, in January and February at the beginning of this year. It could be just urgency and people wanting to just get back into business and create new opportunities. But I think I think urgency is probably the right word. I think people are realizing that, look, if we're going to do something, we need to do it soon. And There's definitely an increased amount of activity with people looking to build integrations to support small businesses and the digitization of a lot of their work.
Okay. Now, I want to shift a little bit to sort of the small business environment generally. You must have a pretty good view of it, given you know the amount of data flowing through your platform and so on. I've asked a lot of others this sort of, what is your sort of, if you're to scale rate your optimism level and the timeline for recovery, what do you see as sources of optimism and sources of pessimism, I suppose?
Yeah, it's really tricky, and we do have some great insights. We actually just recently released this week, in fact, I think our Xero Small Business Insights, XSBI, which tracks anonymized data in our platform and allows us to see what small businesses are doing. And it's quite interesting to actually see the effects, not just in South Africa, but in all the other regions. So we can see metrics from all the countries around the globe that we operate in. Look, I think particularly in South Africa, we have a really challenging environment. The reality for most small businesses here that I tell people globally is that we have to survive. Like, there is no plan B for many small businesses in South Africa. Like, there are very few other options. You have no other choices. You can't, so there is almost this, having landed on the beaches and burnt the ships, like, we have to make it work. And
there's no corporate job waiting for you to go back to.
There's nothing, there really is. And I'll say so jokingly, but it really is quite serious that, someone has to make a plan. And I think we all realize that live here that, no one else is going to do it for you. And you're not going to get any real support from government or any other big business. And so, I would say the accountants we work with, it really is an attitude thing. I mean, we just see that so often, that the attitude of a lot of the partners that we work with and a lot of the small businesses that we work with are generally ahead of their time, to be fair. These are guys who adopted technology like cloud a decade ago. Right. And so generally they are people that are more optimistic and more ready to take advantage of opportunities. And I think the stronger message there is that if you are a small business, what is your attitude? What is your plan? What is your perspective? Because those are generally the guys who thrive and do well. And I think we'd all agree, South Africa is a land of great opportunity. We just need people to put it together. It's not that there isn't opportunity. It's not that there isn't money. There is enough money. The problem is it just gets, stolen and wasted, and people don't, use it for the right purposes. And so, we are far more fortunate than many other countries around the world. We just need to make sure that we take hold of the opportunities we have, I think.
Not a matter of resources, but of allocation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Quick last thing. You sort of touched on something that I've observed in other data I've seen in the States and elsewhere, and this notion that a correlation between technology sophistication and, frankly, viability of the business. Do you think that, not to be a little too Darwinian with the way I'm phrasing this, but do you feel that when we're at the other side of this, those companies that had adopted technology early, learned how to use it and optimize it, will over-index for survival?
It's tricky. Not every business is going to be a purely digital business.
Sure.
And there are some businesses who will use technology in different ways, and they will use it for their immediate survival, as you point out. But ultimately, some businesses, their unique selling proposition is their human, authentic nature, which technology can accentuate and bring more to the fore. And so it's not so much about becoming a fully digitized e-commerce business. And in fact, one of our beliefs at Xero is that technology is there to accentuate and bring out the human nature of people.
It's a means to an end. It's not an end in itself, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's if anything, if we've learned anything through this COVID period and through virtual meetings, is I think most people crave that human contact and that human interaction. And we would rather be having this conversation in person or in a hall or in an auditorium. And it will cost more money and it will be more complicated. But we will do it. Why? Not just for the outcome, but because the experience is probably a lot better than the experience of being virtual. It's very efficient. It's very digital. It's great. It's scalable. It's deliverable. But
Right.
you know, is this how we want to live? Probably not. And so I think that relates back to small businesses. You know, the right tech in the right space at the right time serves its purpose, but ultimately it should always leverage our like true, authentic human nature.
Right. Restaurant still has to make good food, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Even if they have a great POS system that's integrated into their accounting system. Yeah.
Somebody's got to be in the kitchen making the chow and making sure that it's tasty. Otherwise, it's all wasted.
Very, very fair point. Okay, I think we have to wrap it up there. Colin, it was a lot of fun and really appreciate you making time to join us. And hopefully we'll have you at another event soon.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And thanks very much for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you again. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.